A very warm welcome to our session here. We're excited to have you joining us in SkillsFuture Month at SIT. I'm Mabel Lu, an undergraduate from SIT, and I will be a student host for this session. The title of this session is Globalisation, Digitalisation and Now Dispersion, Three Forces Shaping Our World. We are honored to have our speaker from Singapore Management University, Mr. Ivan Chang, who will be speaking to us. Mr. Ivan Chang serves as a head of payments, APAC, for Fortune 100 company. In his role, he oversees a diverse team across 14 markets and processing more than 100 million USD in transaction monthly. He's responsible for the day-to-day operation of payment transaction, as well as ensuring the company has a growth strategy in the emergency field of finance and technology. Without further ado, let's welcome our speaker, Mr. Ivan Chang.
Let me just share my screen. All right, we are sharing screen. Let me just do a quick check with everyone. Harry and can see my screen. Can you help me check? Type yes in the presenter chat if you can hear me and you can see my screen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ivan, we can see it.
Thank you so much, guys. Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to Mabel from Singapore SIT for welcoming me. It is such a great honor to be here together with you to share with you a topic that really is close to my heart today. So let's get started into our sharing. So today we want to talk about, and I changed the name a bit, globalization, digitalization, and now decentralization. The third force shaping our world and, strategies to thrive. I understand that vast majority of our audience members today come from the business world. And I think this is something that you guys might enjoy and be able to appreciate as we talk about how we share. Post this survey and post this webinar, I will also give you access to this slide. I will talk about how to get a download version of these slides in a short while. Okay, so I have the time now is about 1:32. I'm going to spend 30 minutes going through my information deck, and we can spend the last 20 minutes engaging in some Q&A. There is a live Q&A functionality in this. I encourage you to use the live Q&A and continuously type in your questions along the way, and I'll respond to them at the 2 o'clock mark itself. Okay, sounds good, everyone? So let's get started. Before I go, I want to acknowledge my teaching assistant and my research assistant, Joshua Choi, for helping me put together this deck in today's presentation itself. So once again, an introduction of myself. My name is Ivan. I'm an adjunct faculty with Singapore Management University, specifically with the School of Accountancy, but I cover strategy and innovation. In my day job, I'm the head of payments for APAC, Asia Pacific, for a Fortune 100 media company itself. So really exciting time in this payment space, very exciting time in the academia space itself. So let's get started. As always, I have to give you guys a safe harbor statement. The information shared in this session is meant for education only. I encourage you to always let me know if there's any mistake or where I'm falling short. By all no means, you be using my information to make market trades or information. I am not here to be a financial advisor. Please do not come and look for me if you are taking my information and making certain market position itself. Always seek your own independent advice and accounting advice or legal advice before making such decision. Okay, now let's get started. The big question we want to talk about today, did the world just change? Is there more competition than ever before? And what's next? Our market landscape itself. All these are things that have been bottling up and something that we are always constantly asking ourselves over the course of time, over the course of period itself. And really, to answer this question, we want to have certain set of frameworks and model to help our way of thinking about the world. So we're going to talk about 3 mega trends that has been shaping our world since the start of time. And let's start first with globalization. Now, globalization has been, since the dawn of humanity, when human being, whether you're religious or not religious, anthropological or not anthropological, right? By and large, we started from the Middle East in the Central River, and humanity itself has always been located along a river so that it's easier to trade goods and supply. the need to meet other civilization, the need to trade, the need to access something new is a consistent theme in the story of humanity, in the story of how we as a humankind survive. And of course, we took that and we advanced it in the European century in the 17th and 18th century with the Silk Road. The Silk Road was from China all the way to the Middle East, one of the world's first trading routes, whereby you take the silk from China and you trade the spices from India and the larger extent cotton from the Middle East itself. So evolved into the British East India Company, the East India Company, basically is our first take onto globalization itself. But of course, this is ancient history. This is, it's not really relevant to us today. Let's take it into our current context. Let's take it into where we are today in humanity. Where we are today in humanity really are shaped by this seminal book, for those of you who are economists, Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. Now, Adam Smith, and for any of us who have ever taken economics in undergraduate level or in a polytechnic level, you'll realize that Adam Smith says there is an advantage for a nation to specialize. When we specialize, it doesn't matter whether we have an absolute advantage, but when we specialize in areas, we are able to gain economies of scale. Imagine a farmer, instead of being able to grow 20 different crops to survive, he grow one crop really well, for example, corn, and he trade his corn with other supplies that he need. In both instances, both farmers benefit because you now have specialization. So 18th century to 1995, the world became specialized, but to a certain extent. We were limited at the point of time because of our ability to move goods and services efficiently. By and large, we can trade some stuff, but because there's a limitation on what we can trade efficiently, we were only able to trade things that we can export. Then something happened. As of course, in 1995, we introduced to you the World Trade Organization. 164 countries as of today took part in a global agreement so that we have a standardized way of trading. Of course, from 1995, because of the World Trade Organization, your global trade increased by 2.14 itself. That really shows, right, when you remove the barriers to trade, we are more efficient as a society, as a humankind. Now, what then happened in 2001? China. 30 years later, in a World Trade Organization, from Richard Nixon first entering China in 1972, China joined the World Trade Organization. And we saw an unleashing of 1.2 billion people into the world economy. This is significant because no other time, right? Basically, pre-2001, the World Trade Organization was servicing 1 billion people around the world. 250 Americans, 300 million Europeans, and it was servicing 1 billion people. China immediately doubled the size of what the World Trade Organization is seeing. And this has a profound effect on all of us today. When China joined, China has a competitive advantage or an absolute competitive advantage when it comes to goods manufacturing, like never before seen before. Through the sheer will of a population size, you have an absolute advantage in manufacturing, in being able to ship goods. And now, when the World Trade Organization, without all those sense of trade barriers in place, right, you were able to get a massive increase in wealth. Now, this shows it all, right? 2002, just when China joined, and 2018, 4x jump in scale and velocity. Share of world economy, China from 4 to 16. Share of trade export, 5 to 13. Manufacturing, 10 to 39%. And tourism from 5 to 18% itself. Now, this is not to say that the rest of the world didn't progress, yeah? From 2002 to 2018, the world did progress. It's just that China, because of the access to the world market, was able to progress so progressively much more that it became the lion's share of a few key economics driver of the world. This is also the reason why SARS in 2003 versus COVID-19 in 2019 and 20 had a profound difference in impact, yeah. Just because of the impact of China and how much bigger scale they are in the global economy today. Net effect, you will say that, so, you will ask me, so Ivan, are you saying that competition is increased? Yes. To answer the first question, competition has increased. You basically pre-1995, you are competing with 1 billion people. Post-1995, you're competing with 2.5 billion people. It's a doubling of the world workforce, yeah? Obviously, competition will increase. But here's the good news. Net effect, we are better off, right? We are better off. Global wealth has increased by 3x since the start of China joining the World Trade Organization. I say that again. Global wealth has increased by 3x since then. We have lower consumer price product. The McDonald's meal is never cheaper than ever before. We have a reduction in global poverty, and we have more economic activity than ever before. But here's where the downside is. With every upside, there's a downside as well. The downside is really this. Capitalism rewards the few. The risk taker plus compounded generational wealth, whereby you have generation building wealth on each other, equals to a perfect storm in global inequality. With scale, rewards are concentrated among the few. And this is just the construct of how Adam Smith described it in The Wealth of Nations. This is not something that we did not see coming. Yeah, we know this will be coming. We know this was coming since the 18th century when we wrote the first economic book on competition. When you specialize, yes, we are definitely well off than before. The average middle income person in any global economy today is definitely better off than in 1995. The difference is here. The top 1% went from being, say, 5 points difference in the middle income to 100 points different in the middle income itself. So as an absolute percentage, we are better, but as a relative percentage, most of us feel that we are worse off than ever before. It's a matter of perception, not a matter of relativity advantage, or absolute advantage itself. So what will be the recommendation in those era? The strategic recommendation for those of you operating companies in 1995, in 2001, pre-2010 will be this. Michael Porter wrote in 1972 the value chain analysis, where companies are organized in a systematic way. You take raw ingredients, you transform it, you operationalize it, you move it, and you get the margin itself. Scale was key. Our strategic framework in 1997 all the way to 2010 was this: build scale. Build scale, scale equals to lower economies of cost, and therefore that's how you win the market. And we've seen companies thrive on this. General Electric, Hyatt, General Motors. These were all companies built on a tremendous increase in scale and drawing costs and being able to exploit the advantage itself. If you're interested in this, I will talk about our courses that cover all of this itself. I really only have 30 minutes here, so this is a sampling of the ideology behind a lot of global forces happening today. Then, of course, we talk about 5 forces. So you deciding whether as a Singaporean company to enter an industry really was a function of the 5 forces, yeah? You are less concerned about the business model risk, about whether you can make money, but you're more concerned about how much competition it is. From an economics theory, we'll call it supernormal profit. From a strategic professor perspective, we call it the 5 forces. You will evaluate a market space and say, the forces are against me, the forces are for me. And you make a decision on entering that market itself. All this were the construct of how we think about strategy for companies and how we decide on market entry in the first trend on globalization. Now, with this globalization, we then see the next trend happening, and that is called digitalization. But instead of talking about digitalization, we always compound it with something else. And I want to name from digitalization to industrialization and walk with me through, because trends do not come one at a time. Trends overlap, trends sit on each other, and trends are always a compounding effect of coming together. So instead of talking about digitalization, let's talk about the main trend itself, which is industrialization. Pre-18th century, we have the first wave of industrialization. We call it the pre-wave, and I call it human powered. What is human power? The loom is one example. You pack people in a factory, or what the British call a plant, because it's modeled against a tree plant itself, where the plant itself is a world first factory, yeah, because of the ability to take in carbon dioxide and photosynthesis into oxygen itself. So we call the first complex a plant. All right, this is some for those of you who are vocabulary nerds. There's some backstory on the reason why we call a factory a plant. Now, the plant itself was powered by humans. You pack human in, you use automation in managing humans, and you are able to use humans to produce more than ever before. If an individual seamstress were to sew cotton in his own house, he were able to produce, say, 1 liter of cotton. But putting together and using the advantage of combining cotton production together, you can have a leapfrog in production. All human power, no automation, it was using human. And that really birthed the first area of management science. We call it scientific method. Lord Frederick Taylor created the ideology that when I look at you and look at you do work, you are more productive. I kid you not, one of his idea in the 18th century was to print a gigantic picture of himself on the top of the factory floor so that when he looked down on an employee are more motivated to work faster. That was the start of how we track the idea of efficiency, productivity, and the ability to produce more. Then came the next wave. Okay, the first wave, the steam power. James Watts, and this is why till today we measure electricity or power as a function of watts. James Watts created the world's first steam engine by burning water, by boiling water. You were able to use steam to move stuff. The steamboat was created. We could cross the channel. The steam production came out, and of course, the next wave came with electric. The three men you see here today on this picture here is George Westinghouse, Edison, and of course Tesla. Not the car itself, but Tesla itself, the guy. And the three of them, really came about between AC/DC to create the electric revolution. Now, I will not go more details into this. I think you guys know what happened. A huge increase in productivity each time. More importantly is the third wave. The third wave started in 1960s, and we talk about moving into analog. Now, we were able to use machines by buttons and switches to tell them a certain level of programming. The IBM mainframe picture here was one of the first few examples. We managed to code into the computer via using switches and stuff so that the computer can do things for us. This was the third wave. We always compound third wave with digitalization, but it's actually a separate trend altogether. The third wave was very significant. One of the things that you and I probably use every single day was the creation of the third wave, and that's your credit card. IBM created the credit card, the magnetic strip, because of the advancement of the database. Pre-credit card or pre-Americard, which became Visa, there was no systematic way to store the number of transactions that you are doing in the database. The analog wave brought us a tremendous amount of innovation. Then we advanced into today, and I call it the digitalization wave or the industrial fourth wave itself. Everything is digital. Today, we no longer need to press a button to communicate with a computer, using voice-to-text technology, using speech technology, even using eyeball tracking technology. We are more than ever before able to leverage digitalization and being able to move the needle on digitalization. Machines are basically talking to each other. So this is the fourth wave. What will be the strategic advantage to look into this? The fourth wave, is significant in the sense of scale. If we were to look at just the third and the fourth wave, which is analog to a digitalization wave itself, no other time in humanity have we increased the connectivity of the world by such a scale. Digitalization has allowed 5.1 billion out of 7 billion people with a phone. 4 billion of them a smartphone, and 3.5 billion actually connected. What is perpetually connected? That means that at 3 a.m. in Singapore, if you want to call someone in the US, you want to call someone in Brazil, you want to call someone in China, you are able to without someone switching the router. This is phenomenal, Even in the PC era, right, you never had a scenario where so many of the world was systematically connected in a generation before. This has led to a huge rise, and we call it the rise of the platform. So every single of the industrial trend has different strategic advantage for companies. But let's just talk about this. Singapore, we hear our ministers, and just now Minister Chan Chung saying digitalize, 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 right? What does it mean, right? What is the way to compete in that scenario? And the way was that we seen concentration of wealth in the platforms. Unimaginable scale has brought untold opportunities. Amazon in the US really started scaling up in the 2010s onwards when we connected the world with a smartphone. All right. Pre-smartphone, only 500 million of the world had access to a personal computer. Yeah. Because of the smartphone, we went from 500 million people connected to 3.5 billion perpetually connected. There's a 7x increase in full. So in Singapore, bring it closer to home, I'm sure you guys know Grab, Lazada, Carousel. The goal really was to build a platform, okay? Now, if you want to have the ability to make unfair economic advantage, right? And of course, we have kind of passed this generation, yeah? It's very tough today to build another platform. I'm not here to give you a magic solution. I'm not here to tell you go and build your platform. I'm here to tell you that in the 2007 and 2008, if you were there at the point in time, the strategic move was to build the platform. Think Airbnb, think Uber, think Grab. Being the conduit of trade and activity, leveraging the scale of connectivityness, you were able to build that scenario. And I want to point out the other strategic advantage here. For much of how we think about selling, the idea of selling itself really centered around Kotler, Peter Kotler, 4 Ps. For those of you who are marketer, you will of course say price, product, place, promotion. It was a skill activity. You open a new shop, let's just say you're Tiffany & Co. You open a new shop in Marina Bay Sands, you take a full page ad in the Straits Times telling you we open a new shop in Marina Bay Sands. Because you put an ad, people see the ad, people go to the shop itself. But that was a traditional way, right? You want a sense of scale, or what I call linear scale. More marketing equals to more sales. But today, we have this new thing because of the fact that we are all connected in the digital era, which is the network effect. We are able to leverage untold advantage to be able to find something that go viral and hack the scale itself. Think Instagram, think TikTok. These are all your viral loop. And we, of course, created a whole new workforce in this space, which is called the growth hackers itself. You will see that in my slides, throughout the generation of industrialization, right? I truly believe that what changed across the time, and this is to answer the second question, where are the jobs of the future itself? The job of the future itself will continually keep changing. As we move through the different wave, human went from producing the loom to managing the steam engine, to managing the electric circuit, to managing the analog device, to today moving and coding the machine. Jobs completely always change. The idea of a growth hacker didn't exist 10 years ago. It's not that machine kills job. Industrialize is that machine kill certain jobs. And this is a trend that we will see continuously pushing us into the third wave, which is what I want to talk about in the last 7 minutes, called decentralization itself. Now, we are always compounded decentralization with the blockchain and the Bitcoin. Okay, I'm here, by the way, I apologize, I think there's going to be a plane flying past me right now. I want to deconflict this area of blockchain and Bitcoin. Sorry, just going to take 30 seconds while the plane fly past. Sorry, just give me a while the plane fly past. And I'll encourage everyone to continue to ask questions. I see one question already. Please do ask your questions, okay? All right, let's move on. So we've always compounded decentralization as the blockchain or Bitcoin. Now, blockchain and Bitcoin started as an academic paper in 2008. Why? Because there is some advantage in having a decentralized system outside of government control, outside of a secure and a more secure system. For lack of time, I will not compound on these two areas, but instead tell you that it's part of a global trend. Yeah, we always see that because of the fact of the second trend, where we are more connected than ever before, we can be further away from each other than ever before. Sounds weird, right? Because we are more connected than ever before, we can now be further away than before. Now, think of a silk. Siok, or the Middle Eastern word for the first market. From ancient China all the way to the Middle Eastern culture, we always centralize ourselves in a market square. We stay in the river so that we can trade efficiently. We stay in a central location so that we can barter, trade, and move stuff easily. But because of the second trend of digitalization, we can now explode that. Yeah, we no longer have to stay close together to be connected. Blockchain came about because of that ideology that we can be further away but yet more connected. But blockchain itself was never really popular until something happened. What happened was a global financial crisis. As we always say, it takes a crisis to change pattern itself. The global financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, where we have systematic destruction of income by a vast majority of the middle income, has created a lot of situations where we lost faith in the institution that was supposed to protect us. We lost faith in the government, we lost faith in the banks, and we lost faith in the financial sector itself. I apologize, yeah, there's really a lot of planes flying past today. It's a bit distracting for me. Just give me 30 seconds for a plane fly past. Okay. Oh gosh, there's really a lot on my side. It's really, really loud. Apologize for everyone. Okay. All right. So we lost faith in our institution in the global financial crisis, and you can see that that this was a time that the blockchain paper that created the idea of Bitcoin first came out in 2008. So since then, we have pushed towards an unbundling model because in our entire part of life, we can now be further away from each other than ever before. We are now also able to trade efficiently. Streaming is a clear example. I come from the media space. Unbundling of streaming has been, unbundling of cable TV has been a global trend that we are facing and we're seeing never before in our generation itself. So what will be the strategic recommendation in this current century, in this current time of decentralization? James Barksdale, one of my favorite business thought leader, will tell you there are only two ways to make money. You either bundle or you unbundle itself. And of course, things go in wave. But the wave that we are seeing now is towards the unbundling wave. Consumers are saying, I no longer want a big brand servicing me anything. I want to go Under Armour to buy my performance gear. I want to go to Apple to buy my iPhone, and I want to go to this brand to do this. The market no longer prefers this. And you're seeing this, yeah? All of our anti-trade measures, when we talk about competitive measures, are targeted towards horizontal integration. What is horizontal integration? Horizontal integration was in the 1960s. Standard Oil bought other oil company. Think about Singapore, right? Horizontal integration would be SPH buying over MediaCorp and merging all the media company together. We no longer care about that, yeah? Horizontal integration is not the way today. No one wants it because we think that competition is good. So what have companies been doing? They have been verticalized itself. You go up or down with the production chain so they can capture more value. And this is what Amazon has been doing. Instead of buying another e-com platform, what they do, they go upscale. They go Amazon Direct. They go to service itself. They even go to the point of managing their own web services. So these are all the trends that we want to talk about in our classes. Should you choose to sign up, and I'll talk about the classes once again later. But really, for lack of time, these are just some ideology of where we are seeing in decentralization. And of course, in 2019, 2020, right smack, welcome COVID-19. The sudden force into lockdown by centralization and by humanity has caused us into a massive, massive, massive experimentation. It's a massive experimentation itself. So we have advanced a decade in the span of a year. So people always ask me, in my personal opinion, do we believe that decentralization, stock market is rewarding or functioning correctly? And when we want to see a stock market recovery chart, and this coming from McKinsey itself, I think it makes sense, yeah. Companies like Zoom, companies like Apple, they are taking on two trends today, yeah. Trend number one, digitalization. And trend number two, decentralization. The iPhone allows you to be working, and I have so many of my colleagues today in different markets working remotely because you can. We are dispersing the world population. They are being able to work, and companies that are supporting this decentralization trend is rewarding tremendously in the market itself. So really, this is how we think about it. There are so many new strategies for companies to and SME in Singapore to compete in this new generation. Companies need to be able to appeal to the human instinct, whereby we, more than ever before, expect brands to be alive. We expect brands and company ideology to be ESG. ESG shares, which is environment, social sustainability, and growth, has been outperforming the market by a factor of 15 points. We expect companies to balance between growth and margin. We expect companies to have recurring revenue, verticalized, and a sense of likability. I have not enough time today to go through all of these strategies in a decentralized world, but I do hope to see some of you in our class with SMU Academy to talk about this itself. Okay, so right on the dot, there's a 30 minutes covering for me. The three megatrends today affecting us is globalization, industrialization, and decentralization itself. What are the causes that we want to talk about? Just give me 2 minutes before I start answering your questions itself. My personal favorite course, if you guys find that I'm very passionate about this, we have a course on negotiation. This is a bit far from this current topic that we are talking about today, but it's a personal favorite of mine. In my job, I get to negotiate $1 million deal on a daily basis. I think all of us deals, in this new decentralized world, we all need to be able to gain our soft skill, and negotiation is a key soft skill in every single part. It's not just about your salary negotiation, but it's about your life as well, right? Being able to stand your ground and being able to talk about it. So we cover skills in this class. And another class, of course, that's a bit more relevant for today's sharing is, of course, our business model and technology innovation class as part of our certificate in innovation. All of this, you will be able to sign up for the class later. I'll give you guys a link. If you have questions about how much it costs, I'll invite my SMU Academy colleagues to understand. But in this course itself, where we talk about innovation, specifically for my part, we want to talk about strategies and how to thrive in this new innovation, in this new innovative era itself. So here are some causes that I thought might be relevant as part of the SkillsFuture month that you might want to take. So enough Koyo selling. Let me take your questions. I'm going to pause at this slide. So this is what we're going to do. One, if you want to add me on LinkedIn to see what I'm doing, to talk about all of this, and I continue posting, please scan the one on the left. I always encourage this. I love seeing and hearing about your life success on LinkedIn. Message me. I will reply. Just give me a bit of time. And for those of you who, I really appreciate if you can help me fill out the post-webinar survey. In the post-webinar survey, you will have a chance to indicate the causes that you might be interested into signing up with SMU Academy. And what we'll do is I will pass that information only for those of you interested in getting called by SMU or emailed by SMU for those causes. SMU Academy will reach out to you to talk to you about the course that we have, when's the next start date, and how you can be part of continuous learning itself. Decentralization in education is going to affect so many of us, and I encourage everyone, including myself here. I find it so much fun to attend all of this short course to think about how we go as a humanity and to get exposed to new ideas. And with that, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say thank you first before I look at the Q&A questions to answer you guys your questions itself. Okay? So let's open the live Q&A. What's this button here? Ooh, this is cool. Okay, I'm able to see all the questions coming in. Most recent. Start. Okay, let's quickly go through everyone. Okay, this is big. It seems that, okay, I will answer it in alphabetical order as much as I can. It seems that, first question from Sean, it seems that business become more centralized, such as business organizations are much bigger and more powerful than nation. Absolutely correct. Just yesterday, Facebook crossed the same GDP value as Spain. I say that again. The valuation of Facebook is now the same valuation as Spain. you are, and once again, they are all of them are not really going horizontal. Yeah, you are not seeing Facebook buy TikTok. You're not seeing Facebook buy. I mean, they did a bit with Instagram, but there are other competitors in the market. Yeah, there's Instagram. There is Snapchat. There's Twitter. These are companies that Facebook are not buying, but they are able to get this skill because they are going vertical. They are going to every single possibility in the space, and the scale effect of the second and the third trend is happening. So yes, absolutely correct itself. Next question. What are some of the effects of industrialization on the Asian society? Do social pattern change? Unfortunately, I'm not a sociology professor. My area is strategy. I cannot answer this accurately for you. My school of social science professors like Bridget will be much better at answering this. But I do see that we are seeing a big change. So I'm sorry I will not be able to answer that question itself, just because I'm not the best in the area. Are globalization characteristic exploitive? And if so, do they generate moral duties? Yes, globalization characteristics are inherently exploitive in nature, yeah? And this is why we need strong government, yeah? Short of where my political leaning is, government helps balance the Gini coefficient. I have another slide that talks about how redistribution of wealth is a very important thing. I know a lot of us hate hearing the idea of a wealth tax because inheritance tax sounds bad. Like, we want to leave our HDB for our next generation, yeah? But we come to a point where this creates generational wealth, which is really bad for society. So there is a moral duty for us to redistribute wealth to balance the Gini coefficient, to balance the worst of globalization, which is capitalization itself. In my opinion, is globalization another word for Americanization? I think the current globalization is indeed another word for westernization. But to be very fair, the first trader were the Chinese in ancient China, where they were the middle kingdom was the most powerful kingdom, and they were really moving into different areas itself. So I don't per se agree with this, but to a certain extent, yes. Next up. Hi, Ivan. I believe there is a pressing concern regarding cryptocurrency in the lack of government and people, especially the SEC. What do you think is to be done? I have no opinion on the cryptocurrency area. It is not my area of expertise to be able to answer. My take on cryptocurrency is this, yeah, and I really all of this are from a cost thing. The volatility in cryptocurrency. Let's talk about Dogecoin. For those of you who know, Elon Musk tweeted about this Dogecoin, and boom, straight away, the price shot up by 1,000x itself. Does it make sense? Inherently, it doesn't. Yeah, I'm not saying that all cryptocurrency doesn't make sense. I'm saying that some cryptocurrency are completely speculative. And then we have to ask ourselves, why is it so speculative? Why do people want to trade Dogecoin when we know there's no inherent value in a Dogecoin? And really, right, in population and society, speculation is good when you are in a certain part of society. When you don't have the level to build instantaneous wealth that easily anymore because of globalization, volatility is the only thing left, yeah? Imagine going in at $1 and making $1,000 on the stock trade, GMC. These are all examples of volatility, yeah? So the older generation hates volatility because we want wealth to grow at 3 to 5%. But if you are young and you're not able to tap on this huge new class of society wealth, you want volatility. Volatility is good for you because that's where you make the money from. So my take on this is that it's going to be a very big Wild West. Acceptance of cryptocurrency or decentralization product is not going to happen until we are able to remove the volatility itself. Because it's not just about the decentralized platform, it's that volatility is inherently bad for trading, yeah? Imagine you have a currency like the Zimbabwean dollar, and between day to day, the currency price goes up and swings by 50 basis point or even 500 basis point. It doesn't make sense. And as a society, we are not able to manage that risk itself. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. How do you think the role of, next question, how do you think the role of marketer should need to evolve along with the continuous globalization industrial role? This is a great question. I'm not a marketer, but I find myself learning every single day by itself. First thing first, shout out to you, whoever asked this question, sign up for Advanced Competitive SIT in Sales and Marketing. Not trying to sell my career here, but my fellow trainers, apart from myself, are from the biggest tech companies in the world, and they're going to talk to you about digital marketing. They're going to talk to you about how trends change. The role of a marketer is no longer an art. Yeah. In the past, you work for a luxurious good company. You say, this makes sense. This is what I feel. There's a lot of feely, touchy-feely item, but it's no longer the case today. Yeah, you're going to see tremendous change in how marketing works. Marketing is now a science. Okay, we are able to, with our second trend, digitalization, how we are able to the precise point of knowing your preference and building a preference construct of you. So if you are a marketer, I will tell you it's time to change drastically. You need to be able to learn on stop. You need to be able to go on short-term courses. You need to know that if you cannot code or you cannot understand SQL query, you will be at a disadvantage. And it's time to do something about it. And it's time to sign up for an SMU Academy class or another class to learn on this itself. Okay. Somebody asked me, can I get the slides? Yes, you can. Fill out my post-webinar survey. Sorry to the rest of you, I forgot to say this. For those of you who fill up the post-webinar survey, here's an incentive. If you fill up the post-webinar survey, I will send you a copy of this slide after today's class, after today's webinar itself. Okay? 8 more minutes. Keep your question coming. 4 more questions. Hi, Prof. Thanks for the talk. Can I get your slides for reference? Okay, that is answered. Thank you so much. Hi, Prof. How can we write on the blockchain technology? Blockchain. My answer to you is I'm not the best person. I think blockchain technology will become DeFi, or what I call decentralization financial product. Today, just think of it this way, yeah. Revolut. I'm not sure any of you use Revolut. It's a bank from the UK. Revolut today is worth more than a market capitalization of Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. 250-year organization is now worth less than a 10-year-old fintech company. Blockchain technology is going to allow us to bypass. Just think of it this way. In the past, just 10 years ago, when I want to transfer, say, Singapore dollar to Philippine peso, and you want to transfer 100,000, the cost was enormous. A local bank, first thing first, will charge you. It's not about the speed, yeah. The speed of the transaction was solved long ago. It was the cost. Before blockchain, right? First thing first, you go to a local bank. Hey, transfer for me 100K to my Philippines colleague here. First thing first, they make on the exchange rate because of market misinformation. None of us will be able to change $1 million, 100K into peso and bring it over. So they make on currency spread. They make 50 basis points on currency spread. Then they start charging you fees, service fee, transaction fee. It is crazy, yeah. And it really is because the only person that had power was the bank. But today, with a blockchain decentralized finance technology, yes, you want $100,000 in peso. Another person on the counterpart is only able to give you 30,000, but the technology itself is able to smart route enough volume to match your transaction. Company like Wallex, company like TransferWise, they are doing this, yeah. They are able to smart route contracts because of blockchain in all of this area. So I think that for those of you in finance, the first area of decentralization is happening in finance because the financial institution was just making so much money. How much money? Let me just give you guys, okay? The world's most profitable company is Visa Card and Master. Visa and Master today runs on 50% net profit margin. I say that again. Visa and Master runs on 50% net profit margin. That is insane, yeah? It's all facts waiting to be disrupted by decentralized financial solution. Same as TransferWise, okay? How is AML and KYC control established in this payment method? Once again, not the best person to answer this. Compliance and legality are not my area. So sorry, Benny, I will have to skip your question itself. And I think, your question also kind of conflict the idea of decentralized. The reason why we have decentralized technology is because we want people to be able to bypass the traditional banking institution, yeah? And last but not least, we have 5 more minutes. How can we utilize this in the digital area? How can we utilize digital hackers? I think this is a very loaded question. I think if you are a marketer, think about, so let me break it down. If you're a marketer, think about growth hacking, think about how you can gain unfair competitive advantage in using something to exploit the main thing. For those of you who are big fans of Instagram, Instagram, people always say that Instagram created stories as a copy of Snapchat. That is to a very large extent true, but it's also another thing. Yeah, the reason why we have Instagram stories coming along as well is because people were having such a perfect life on Instagram main feed that we needed to incentivize. The marketer decided that we needed to find a way to incentivize people to post more, to share more, to do more. And this is why we have decentral things. So for marketers, growth hacking. And for those of you in finance, the fintech, you want to join a company that is on the right side of the equation. When they always say a rising tide lifts all boat, right? Why, if I'm here today, I won't join a cable TV. And as a media professional, why do I want to fight with people who are canceling cable? I want to be in the streaming space, upright, front and center itself. So that'll be how I answer the question. Last but not least, before I give some time to my SMU Academy colleagues to talk to you guys about other stuff, hi Prof, what are your thoughts on deglobalization subtrends thanks to the impact of COVID-19? Subtrends. One, the world was forced into experiment. Here's the interesting thing. I didn't have time to share this slide. There is a split. What's the split? The split is here, yeah? When it comes to work, we hate business travel. I'm not sure about the rest of you, even though I have the benefit of flying business class, I hate business travel. It's a sucky thing to do. And we realize that companies hate it as well because you spend so much money in it. Zoom works, okay? So we've seen that Zoom costs, and it was a sustainable trend. So very simple, pre-lockdown, post-lockdown. I know that Singapore is in a mini lockdown now, but there was a pre-lockdown. So during lockdown, which was last year, April, May, where the globe was locked down, and post June, when vast majority of us can travel in groups of 8, Zoom costs only rise. So the subtrend is this: Zoom work costs only rise on Zoom because it makes sense. But when it comes to face-to-face contact, a popular app that some of you might have used in the past, House Party, bam, it was gone. Yeah, House Party today, the usage is gone. Clubhouse, gone. So when it comes to a person-to-person level, we try on personal connection. We try on individual connection, and we want that as well. So these are all the sub-trends that we have time to cover in some of our classes, SMU Academy. I know time is short, so I just thought I can pass some time to Harry and Jermaine if there's anything you want to share before we can close it up in the next 2 minutes on SMU Academy. Harry and Jermaine, over to you guys.
Thanks, Ivan. Just wanted to thank everybody for attending this session. If there's any questions, you can still post them here, especially in regards to the courses that Ivan spoke about, in which he is currently teaching in. Any questions? If not, I'll probably just give everybody some time if there's any questions regarding today's course or even today's webinar, as well as the courses that Ivan is teaching in. Anyone? If not, I'll hand this back to Mabel to close the session. Thank you, everyone.
Ivan Chan, Ms. Jermaine Lee, and Mr. Harry Lee for the great sharing and insights. We have come to the end of this session. Thank you all for attending, and we'll love to hear some of your feedbacks. You'll be provided with a survey right after this session, and do give us your valuable feedback. Thank you once again for joining us, and continue the rest of the sessions today.
Mabel, I think there's a question.
All right.
Which course? I think Ivan have shared that course. So if you could perhaps just go to our website, SMU Academy, or go to Google and search for SMU Academy. You will be able to find the courses that Ivan teaches in, particularly the one that he spoke about in relation to today's webinar, the business model and technology innovation. Yeah, that will probably be the course that will have most relevance to today's webinar. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got 51 more seconds. Let me do a wrap up. Mabel, can you just put me on screen? Ladies and gentlemen, it's once again my greatest honor to be able to share this. I had so much fun. I see some of your comments. To the 3 people who say that I have a lot of energy, I really appreciate it. This is the only way to keep you guys moving in class. I'm very happy that some of you think I'm very young still. So thank you so much to all those comments. We have a lot of people putting on the feedback. For those of you who have not, on the discussion forum, there's a link to the feedback form. You can also use that form so that SMU Academy can reach out for you for the class. In the next 15 seconds, I'm for all fellow Singaporeans here, Majula Singapura, and thank you so much for sharing today. Thank you so much for being in my class. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Fill up the link, please. Survey. Thanks. Help me. Thanks.